What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how you can avoid knee injuries. So we're going to be showing some different examples of knee injuries from players making cuts, show you some different exercises that you guys can do to strengthen your legs to avoid these knee injuries and just overall make you a much healthier player. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 10 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to the DMV area. That camp is completely sold out, but then we'll be heading out to St. Louis, Missouri, Honolulu, Hawaii, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys want some more information on that, how you can sign up to attend one of our 2-day camps, check out that very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you out there. Let's get started with this video. So this first example here is going to be from Jameson Williams, and this is a cut where he ends up tearing his ACL. So like I said, we're going to show some examples of different injuries and some drills and exercises that you guys can do to prevent this, right? So when he makes this cut, we never want to get to this position when you guys cut where your knee is caved in and this ankle is almost facing downward. Now, there's a couple different things that can avoid this, right? Now, obviously, when he goes to make this cut, he steps way outside of his frame. Now, anytime that you guys cut, anytime maybe you're doing a release off the line, a cut at the top of the break, a cut with the ball in your hands, when you guys step outside of your frame and you maybe lack leg strength, lack ankle stability, knee stability, this is something that could happen with this knee caving in. Now, this knee caving in is a problem that so many athletes have, and it's honestly from doing the incorrect lifts and incorrect exercises and not emphasizing their form. So it's just a bad habit that they've developed, and from over time, you do something long enough and you do it over and over and over again, this injury or this specific position that he gets to is going to be a habit. So how can you avoid this? What are some things that you can do? Because obviously when Williams cuts here, he wants to keep this foot inside his frame. He wants to keep it inside of his shoulder frame, so he's able to keep that knee or that shin, I guess you could say, somewhat straight. A little cave in is fine, but when you get to that point outside your frame, that's when that knee caves in. And if you hyperextend or you extend too far outside your frame, that's when that injury can happen. So what are some things that can prevent that? So this next exercise here, this next example, is an athlete doing this like single leg pistol squat. Now this is incorrect. This is where guys go wrong, and this is where guys develop bad habits, right? So it's a cool exercise, sitting on top of a box, doing a lot of weight, doing this single leg squat, but watch how when he squats down, you see how his knee is caving in. Now, you're just practicing a bad habit when you do this. So many young athletes, young football players, they'll be doing any type of leg exercise, and that knee caves in, because they're not really focused on their form. They're not focused on keeping that shin straight, sitting at their hips, sitting their butt down, and that's what leads to bad muscle memory when you are, in fact, making a cut. So now let's look at the next example of this exercise, because this is a great exercise, because a lot of times what people lack, and the reason why they hurt their knee, the reason why they just injured themselves, it could be an ankle injury or whatever, is that they'll be cutting downfield, they'll be running at a high speed, but they lack the leg strength, the single leg strength, stability to be able to cut while running full speed. So doing a pistol squat like this is a great exercise to do. Honestly, any lower body exercise is a great exercise to do. Barbell back squats, front squats, anything that's going to strengthen your legs is great, but you have to emphasize having good form. So you see how when this athlete squats down, you see how he's focusing on pressing his knee outward, right? He's focused on standing up and not letting the knee cave in. That puts more stress onto your legs, your glutes, your hamstrings, but that is what we are trying to develop. We do not want to rep out a bad habit, and it comes from the stuff that you guys do in the gym. Anything that you do, whether it's, you're hopping onto a box or a bench, you're hopping laterally from side to side, you're doing a back squat, whatever that exercise might be, you have to make sure that we are practicing good forms and practicing good habits with my lower body, because that is what will translate to on-field play. You only get so many reps that you can do on the field, but when you're in the gym, you have to rep out those specific good habits. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Make sure that knee on any exercise, fellas, does not cave in, and we're working on that single leg strength so that foot doesn't get outside my frame. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen this cut here from Odell where he injured his knee in the Super Bowl, right? We're going to look at two specific cuts where wide receivers hurt themselves, right? So let's watch this cut, for example, here, because again, we're going to show drills that you guys can do to improve on this and just break down pretty much the reason why they injured themselves on these specific plays. So Odell, this is pretty freak accident here. He just plants wrong. And honestly, if you watch a lot of his film from the past, this is something that he does pretty frequently on his cuts. And this is something that a lot of wide receivers can have happen, is that when you guys make a cut, we never want, whether it's just a cut to stop, whether you're catching the ball, what do we not want to strike the ground with first? We don't want to strike on my heel. Now, we look at this from a mechanical standpoint sometimes as a receiver. Like, let's say you're running a 10-yard out. Let's say you're running a post and you got to cut off of 1 foot. You don't want to go on your heel because when you're on your heel, your leg extends and you can't drive off of that cut. So same thing when you guys are breaking down at the top of the route or trying to stop with the ball in your hands. When we strike the ground with my heel, your leg extends. And when it goes heel to the toe and it kind of snaps down, I've seen people injure their Achilles, their ankles this way, and honestly, their knee. Now, again, this is something that's built up from a lot of reps over time. Odell, there's a freak injury he had with the Browns where he did pretty much the exact same thing where he stopped heel toe. He almost like flew up in the air because he was moving with a lot of speed. I suggest you guys look that up because it's pretty crazy to see. But on a lot of his cuts, he's going heel toe because heel toe is a great way to slow down. It's just not a safe way to slow down because like I said, when you're moving with a lot of speed and when that knee or that leg extends out, that can honestly cause your knee to extend out and cause that ACL injury, MCL, whatever it might be. Right? So let's look at this next example here from a wide receiver running a route. Now, there's a fine line, right? Because you want to have an explosive cut, but you also want to have a safe cut. So when this wide receiver makes this like cut to the post, I want you to pay attention to, you see how when he cut, because everybody loves to talk about, oh, you want to be on the ball of your foot when you cut. And you do want to be on the ball of your foot. But sometimes when wide receivers move with a lot of speed and they try to cut off the ball of their foot, they end up on their tippy toes. Now, when you guys cut off your tippy toes, that's going to cause one of two things. It's going to cause a drift and not as sharp of a cut. To be able to decelerate, to be able to make a hard cut, sharp cut, everything, like obviously you need to have leg strength, obviously you need to have ankle stability, knee stability, balance, and we're going to show you some exercises in a second that will help with that, but you also need to have the right form. So when you cut, if we're on the tippy toes, you have a ton of speed into the break, you're instead of making a sharp post cut, you're going to drift forward because your weight's too far forward. We have to shoot that foot into the grass, into the turf as hard as I can, but with the right mechanics. So you see when this wide receiver cuts, what hits the ground first? His ball of his foot hits the ground first. His whole foot's down in the grass, but the ball of the foot strikes first. So that doesn't let that ankle, that knee extend out like we saw in that last clip from Odell, and that'll help him get out of the break smoother, sharper, but honestly safer, which is the most important thing. So that's what I wanted to really showcase to you guys on that. Anytime we were making a cut, fellas, it's okay if the whole foot touches the grass, but it shouldn't be heel toe because that heel toe, that wear and tear of you constantly doing that over and over and over again, that puts so much pressure on your knee and that can lead to future injuries. Because again, you might just step one time, like look at that Jameson Williams clip. He stepped one time outside of his frame and maybe he's repped out exercises where his knees cave in. Maybe he hasn't worked on his leg strength enough. I don't know exactly what he's done, but if you're a young wide receiver, and so many young wide receivers do this, they'll be working out, they neglect form, they neglect certain things, and they build these bad habits. And then when they go out to the field, they keep repping out those bad habits. And you might not hurt yourself right away, but one wrong step, one step too far outside of your frame, and that could be a very, very bad injury because we've repped out the wrong thing so many times. So what are some exercises that can get you more comfortable being on the ball of your foot? So this is a single leg exercise that this football player is doing here where he's literally just hopping off of a weighted plate and then jumping back onto it. But I want you to pay attention to his foot strike. He's just staying solely on the ball of his foot because that's how you guys have to absorb force. This is strengthening the leg. This is improving balance, stability, and honestly, explosiveness, being a lateral explosiveness and change of direction, but still on the ball of his foot. So many wide receivers neglect this kind of stuff. They think it's boring. They don't feel it in their legs as much, but this is something that you need that's going to actually translate to on-field play. We talk about it all the time. Like it's a different story if you're a wide receiver or any type of athlete and you need to gain weight. You need to do certain things in the gym to put on size. You need to eat certain things, etc. But you're a football player at the end of the day. So you have to train like a football player. You have to do these types of exercises that are going to translate. So these single leg hops, maybe you got like a box and you're doing a single leg box jump. You're focusing on exploding off the ball of your foot and landing on the ball of your foot because that's how you have to cut when we're moving at full speed to prevent that injury. And while you're doing exercises like this, what do you think you want to try to prevent? That knee to cave in. You want to try to keep that shin straight, keep that ankle straight, because if we could develop strong ankle stability and overall balance, explosiveness, that's what makes us better with my cuts. So now, this next exercise here I think is also great because a lot of people struggle because like what was the post cut, it's a little bit easier that we showed to break off of 1 foot, right? You're running downfield, he just cuts, puts his foot in the ground. A 45-degree angle on a post is a lot easier than running up and breaking down or running over the middle like on Odell's and putting the brakes on then turning upfield, right? So this is a great drill to help you guys work on your foot strike while you're having to stop. So he's just doing a single leg fall off of the bench. Now, a lot of people will think, oh, it looks like it hurts. But if you focus on the right form and focus on how he's landing, it's actually a really, really beneficial exercise specifically for wide receivers, DBs, running backs, anybody that's got to change direction. So let's watch what he does here. He falls off the box or he jumps off the box, but I want you to pay attention to what strikes the ground first. It's not his heel. It's the ball of the foot that is striking the ground first. He is sitting his butt down. That knee is not caving in. He is sitting into it. His foot's inside of his frame. Those types of exercises, fellas, where you maybe fall off a box and have to balance. I've seen wide receivers like get on like a hill and fall down a hill and work on like catching themselves while maintaining that position on the hill. It forces you to have the correct foot strike. It forces you to sit your butt down, and it just puts you in an overall efficient position. So this is another great drill that you can do. You stand on 1 foot, you jump slightly off of a box, you fall off of a box, a bench, and you have to catch yourself on that ball of your foot to emphasize that good foot strike. Now, there are a million different things you could do for that. You can get creative, but no matter what we are doing, anytime we're working a single leg exercise, having involved jumping, falling, catching yourself, always on that ball of the foot. You can get your whole foot in the ground, as you can see with this wide receiver here, but the weight is distributed forward, and he struck on the ball of the foot. So let's play this again, full speed one more time, and then we're going to show one more knee injury and how you guys can avoid it by having good route running mechanics. So this is a clip here from John Mechie, and this is a clip where he also, I believe, tears his ACL or obviously some kind of knee injury. But this one I would say is not so much about him, doing the wrong type of exercises, his knee caving in. This is not about the wrong foot strike. He does have incorrect foot strike, but it's because of what he does with his upper body. So when you guys go to make a break, and let's say you're running a comeback, you're running like a stop route, a curl route, like in this scenario, you guys have to understand that you want to keep your feet inside your frame, and the feet will drive you out of the break. Now, some of you guys might not be wide receivers, and you might not think, well, this doesn't apply. This applies if you're a running back, you got the ball in your hand, and you got to make a sharp cut. You can't get out of the break with your upper body before your feet get down. So you see when he gets into this break, like whether the quarterbacks may be throwing the ball early, you see this a lot with wide receivers on comebacks because they're trying to snap their head around and locate the ball, is that he breaks down, he's running with good speed, he snaps down, right? Like again, this is all the stuff that we teach as a wide receiver. His first 2 steps are great, they're inside of his frame, but then he tries to locate the ball and turn before that foot gets down. And then that foot ends up being where? Outside of the frame. Very similar to that first example we showed from Jameson Williams. So when you guys try to turn without your feet getting down into the grass, that's when this leg can extend. Naturally, that knee could cave in, and then that's where the injury happens because we left with my body. If his body was here, like let's say, for example, his shoulder and his hip was maybe like a yard over, and those feet stayed inside of his frame, we would not be talking about this injury. But because we tried to get out of it too quick, that's what put pressure on that knee and on that ankle. So how do you avoid that? So I'm going to play this again, slow motion one more time, and then we're going to show a full speed clip of a wide receiver keeping his feet inside his frame and still having an explosive step. Remember, it's not about the number of steps that we take, fellas. It's about the eliminating wasted time. The amount of steps could still be faster than a guy who takes less steps, and it can be more efficient. So when this wide receiver drops into this break, you see how he snaps down. It's the same type of break. He snaps, second steps inside his frame, but you see how he keeps those feet inside of his shoulder frame. Think of it like this. Your feet are trying to drive you out. We are not trying to turn with my shoulders and turn out with my hips. I drop into a break. My feet are trying to push me out of there. And my eyes, they snap to the ball when my feet drive me back to the ball. Don't think of it like you're trying to turn your body and turn as quick as you can. We don't want to do that. I've actually seen people teach, oh, you want to turn your hips and turn your shoulders around a cone as fast as you can. Well, your feet are going to fly way outside your frame, and you're going to either slip, be off balance, or put pressure on that knee and that ankle. So let the feet drive you out. You drop into a break, we need to focus on being violent with my hips to slow down and be powerful with those steps to drive you out, but at the same time, staying inside my frame. That is a way mechanically you can prevent that injury on a cut like this, and that's a great example from this wide receiver. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us, we are coming out to 10 more states this offseason, all the way from Virginia to Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to see you guys there. I'll see you guys next time.